Before this video starts, if you guys could please leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to support me even more, make sure to use code APPOFNM in the Fortnite item shop. I'm always tweeting out announcements and previews of videos on Twitter, and I also stream on Twitch weekly. So make sure to go check out those socials. And enjoy the video. Wow, guys. Just wow. I don't know what else to say. I completed my goal of going pro on PC in just 60 days. And I'm 99% sure that's a world record. But whether it is or isn't, it doesn't matter to me. What does matter is that we completed it. So for those of you that are new, I was a pro mobile player and I made about $35,000 on an iPad. I would place high in a lot of different tournaments like FNCS, Invitationals, as well as holding many world records within Arena on mobile. Unfortunately, once Apple and Epic got into the dispute, mobile was banned and my career was looking to be pretty much over. So I invested in a PC, hoping that I could keep my career alive, and I was able to go pro in just 60 days. And this video is going to show you guys exactly how I practiced, what I did, and what moves helped me go pro as fast as I did. My name is Appo, and this is my 60-day progression on PC. Just like any other game and everyone else, day one started off pretty rough, although I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. I already had basic mechanics down and everything once I hopped into my first arena game, so I kind of knew what I was doing for the most part. My actual first game of arena, I won with, I think, 10 kills, which was a pretty good start for me. Definitely gave me a confidence boost, and I was really feeling good about the switch. And of course, keeping my confidence up was a really good boost, as most other people don't play that good on their first day or first week even, and it usually gets to their head. The rest of the week played out pretty much the same with just minimal improvements on mechanics. Like I said, I brought a lot of skills from mobile to PC, such as my game sense, my idea of aim, and my practicing ways. And of course my basic fighting skills. I went on to consistently placing in my games, as well as even winning them with high kill games as well. This of course kept my confidence at an all-time high on PC, and of course I kept reminding myself that I am only on week 1, so even a little improvement got a long way. Now going into week 2. Week 2 was just as much of a grind, if not more, as Trio FNCS was here. And of course this complicated things. Not having any earnings or barely any experience on PC at all would of course make it more complicated for me to find good teammates that were able to place with me. So I had to do some digging and found some players with barely anything earned as well that were willing to let me IGL them in Trio FNCS. And to my surprise, we qualified for semis. This was a really big mind blower to me because I realized that this is only my second week on PC, and I'm able to qualify for the second round of one of the biggest tournaments Fortnite has ever had. Since I was satisfied with how we performed, I decided to stick with them for the rest of Trio FNCS. That meant for week 2 and 3 of Trio FNCS qualifiers, I would be practicing with them throughout the whole week as well. So by the time Trio FNCS was over, I had all 4 of my first weeks on PC through, which marks me at about halfway through my PC journey to going pro. Now of course, I was barely doing any fragging during this tournament because I was still not very comfortable with taking my fights, especially against upper tier players. So I left the fragging up to my teammates, and I tried everything in my power to get us placement points and winning our games. This of course lifted some of the stress that I had on myself, as I didn't really have to worry about the kills, which allowed me to solely focus on IGLing. We qualified for semis for the next 2 weeks as well, but we could not seem to push past semis into finals. Of course, in a perfect world, going to finals would be amazing, but however, there was obviously going to be some hardships and setbacks before I got right into being a pro. This type of stuff takes time, effort, and practice, and you have to learn from your mistakes to get to where you want to be. This caused myself to get an overload of information from our VODs, which really helped in pushing me to the next step. I probably VOD reviewed about 3 hours of our total footage from FNCS, which gave me a really good understanding of where we went wrong and gave me an idea of what we had to improve on in the future events. Unfortunately, it also made me realize that I probably would need new teammates going into future events, as these guys didn't have as much experience as I did. Although they've been on PC a lot longer, without having any placements in tournaments means that they don't really know the competition that we will be going up against. So from day 30 to day 45, I went right back into my arena grind, focusing on my mechanics and my aim more than anything else, as well as scouring the internet internet for a better trio. In the meantime, there were a few other tournaments that popped up, such as the Marvel Cup, DreamHack Duos, Champion Cups, and a few other ones that were kind of smaller and didn't mean as much to me as the other ones did. These tournaments gave me a great opportunity to look for new players and to see how I work with other people. On top of that, it gave me a better feel at my fighting skills as I felt more comfortable taking fights in these tournaments. They were against better players, but there was a less chance that I would make money, so I didn't really stress over it too much. And after these smaller tournaments throughout day 30 to day 45 of my PC progression, I realized that my mechanics in game and my fighting skills were very good. I was starting to take on pros and hold my own weight in team events. But the other thing that was extraordinarily clear to me was that every single person I was trioing or duoing with was not working out. So I thought to myself, I'm fine, I have plenty of time to do this, and most of the events are going to be solos anyways, so I should be just fine practicing by myself. But with just my luck, Frosty Frenzy was announced just 2 days after. At this point, I was really scrambling to find a trio as I knew this was going to be my best and fastest bet at making money on PC. And through all of the hard work and time I put into the PC before this, I was extremely anxious to find a trio I felt comfortable with. And this brought me to day number 50. Days number 50 to 56 were probably the hardest for me. Even though I was already the most skilled out of all of the other days and weeks, I was the most nervous about finding a team that I could work with. At this point, I knew I could hold my own weight, and I knew I had what it took to make the money in this tournament, and I wanted to make sure I had other people that could put their trust in me that were equally as good, if not better. So I finally caught my break and was able to try out with a few different PC players that had a good amount of earnings or PR, only to realize that I had actually gotten better than them in my short period of time on PC, which was a big eye-opener to me. And I was like, if these guys have earnings, I know I can do it. I need to find someone better. With under 48 hours left before Frosty Frenzy, I realized that all hope was pretty much lost for finding the trio that I wanted to work with. So I ended up going back with my old FNCS trio member, as well as someone else that we had found that day. So we spent the next 2 days scrimming as much as we possibly could, and we were feeling pretty confident going into session 1 of Frosty Frenzy. And once again, right after session 1, I realized how awful of a choice I had made, as my old trio member was incredibly selfish, rude, and was an awful team player overall, which basically made it impossible for me to want to work with him. Since we didn't qualify for the second round of session 1, I decided to look for a new trio last second, which led me to playing with my good friend Revised, as well as his duo partner that was on console. At this point, I thought all hope was lost for the tournament overall, so I didn't really care, and I was able to keep myself calm the entire session 2 of Frosty Frenzy. The 2-hour session went by really fast, with a lot of fun moments and generally good vibes. And before we knew it, we had qualified for the next round by over 400 placements. We were all extremely excited to move on to the next round, not expecting to do good at all. We were just happy that we made it on to the next one, and we would be able to compete against some of the best players NA East has to offer. We had 10 games to place in the top 50% of the 500 trios that moved on to round 2 in order to make money. And game 1 started off with Revised clutching a second place after 1v3ing Keys, Slacks, and Vanish Aggro, which are 3 of the best PC players in the world. From here, it was all uphill. Game after game, we found ourselves going to endgame and completely popping off on our own terms. And after the 10 games, we found ourselves with a nice $1,200. This marked the day I went pro on PC. This completely turned the tables from the entire feeling of defeat, the entire start of my PC progression, and completely brought it back up within 1 3-hour session. From here, I went to bed and was ready to start day 2 of Frosty Frenzy. But this got me thinking, if we did that good with a console player who I've never played with before, how could we do with a PC player that I did play with before? Which led me to picking up one of my oldest mobile trio members, Mustache, for day 2 of Frosty Frenzy, who was also a mobile to PC hybrid. Since I knew we had Chem and I love playing with Revised and Mustache, I decided to try the trio out for day 2, which was a little bit risky. But once again, this risky decision led to one of the best decisions I could have made at this time, as we ended up placing top 60 in the first session. Although there was no money involved, I took a lot from this session because we were able to qualify for the finals in order to make the money, and I was also able to surprise myself with how decent I was getting. And what I mean is I absolutely destroyed Calculator on PC. This guy loves getting killed by me, I swear. And on top of that, I was able to 1v2 Liquid Riverson and Senzypha. Granted, those two weren't as cool, but they were definitely still recognizable for the kills. We had amazing vibes going into round 2, and we're ready to make ourselves some more money. And with pure happiness and focus, we found ourselves placing once again in finals by over 400 places, earning ourselves another $1,200 as a trio. And now we are practicing for the next tournament. And that, my friends, is how I went pro on PC in just 60 days. Now make sure to stay watching because I'm going to be going over just exactly how I practiced and what you guys need to be practicing as well in order to get yourselves going pro. Now for starters, if you guys are creative lovers, make sure you are playing as much as possible against better players. The better the player they are, the better the player you will become. This is what made me improve so fast, as I knew I would always be worse than the player I was going up against, which constantly led me to getting better every single time I took a fight with one. In addition to this, I recommend playing Arena as much as possible and actually going for points. I know this sounds weird because a lot of the time it's easier to not focus on your points, but if you are, it makes you play way more seriously, and the more things you take seriously, the more lightweight the tournaments are going to feel. And that is how I recommend practicing to go pro on PC, as that is exactly what I did to get myself to where I'm at right now. Of course, guys, I still have a very long way to go, and I hope you guys stick with me on this journey. And of course, I promise you guys, I will have mobile videos out for you guys soon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.